Watercolors. Today we'll be doing a quick watercolor based off of a photograph I took the other day. Let me tilt the angle of this, see if it comes out a little bit better. You just have a little bit of reflection taking place and the angle of the screen. But if I get it readjusted, there we go. Kind of see what's going on. I'll base it loosely off of this. Today is kind of just a paint day. The past few days I've been busy with work, and then after that either tutoring or coaching, just all that busyness of life. So I figured we'd log on, set out a piece of paper, the quarter sheet of Stonehenge aqua. We're going to saturate it with water. We'll spray our palette down and we'll get started. All right. Let's move that out the way. Just check the video feed. Is it going now? Yeah. And to save time in the video, I'll add paint as it's needed. And of course, as usual, I'll try to mention the colors that we're using. Okay, let's grab another layer of water. Wow, my desk has been so cluttered with supplies and different things from the different videos that I need to take a day to just clean the art room. Especially since I've been starting to let the cats in here. They, I have stuff that they could get into, so I just need to clean it up. Okay. Good. Yep, that's exactly what I want you to get into. Hammy, you gotta get down. There we go. Sorry about that. This makes the videos just so unprofessional, and I hope that you don't mind. We're just here to have fun. So let's see. With this one, I usually take raw sienna and do a wash of that. I think I want to omit that stage. I think I want to see if I could get a nice light pinkish wash with alizarin and maybe a little lemon yellow, or maybe raw sienna to kind of get a little orangey pink. We'll see. Just a light wash. This is just straight alizarin right now. Really doesn't have too much of an effect. Not really jumping out at us too much. But I want just a nice light sky. A little bit of ultramarine. Theoretically, as you go up in the sky, it would get bluer. And that's what I'm seeing in the picture. So we're just slowly taking ultramarine into this mix. We grabbed a little bit of Payne's Gray. Just kind of plan it out. The back horizon line will go like here. We'll do a bend. And we'll have water in front. Maybe a little bit of landmass right here. It's not in the photo, but it might help compositionally. Let's grab the tiniest of lemon yellow just to see how that's gonna affect this. One of the things I was thinking of doing, but I just wasn't ready for a video for it yet. Was taking the colored India inks and doing a wash, drying it, and then painting it over that. I don't have a yellow India ink, but I'm thinking that that might be a very interesting way to tint the paper as we go along. So that's an idea for the future. Okay, here's a little bit of ultramarine, Payne's gray, alizarin, just a kind of purplish mix. We're just light clouds. My phone doesn't usually take good photos, but looking at this, everything just seemed to work so well in the photo. In fact, I'm seeing raw sienna in the clouds themselves. I'm curious if I might want to actually go in and put a little bit of raw sienna in it. Let's grab a little bit of raw sienna. I just don't want it to jump out too much. Let's even play with a little bit of burnt sienna in this to kind of neutralize the ultramarine in some spots. Okay. Just going to use this as kind of a little guideline where I want to place my objects. We'll do a bend in the curve right there. I'm going to use sap green. Usually I leave sap green for the end, or I use sap green exclusively with the Venetian red palette. But I think we could allow ourselves a little green this time. I think also partially with the reason there's just a lot of green in the reflections in this, that in the wet and wet stage, if you watch a lot of these videos, you know I like to put the reflections in. Sometimes I put the reflections in before the object's even in there. So you can start getting our sap green just diffused. You can use that lemon yellow. Now, there's this beautiful light lemon yellow that comes through in the way background in the field where there's no trees. I'm going to try to get that in. We'll kind of have a hole that we could see through there. And then it catches the far side, the far bank of that stream. Well, it's a coulee. It's just, it runs off to a bayou called Bayou Tig. And me and my friend used to go gar fishing further down in that bayou. Okay, this is the light catching the trees back here. I'm going to have a growth of trees here. We're still really wet, and I'm kind of using this to map things out as long as I get the soft diffusion. I haven't painted so high key brightly in a while, so I'm just kind of moving my way through it, planning things out. Okay. Let's try to get for a darker green. We can. Here's our ultramarine. I can mix the sap green into that, push a little bit greenish. I don't usually play around with greens too much, but I didn't mean to challenge myself today, but there we go. Just kind of pushing back and forth between lemon yellow, sap green, and the ultramarine. I used to use phthalo blue a lot with the earth tones, raw sienna, burnt sienna, and burnt umber. And it's not that I don't use it anymore, it's just I haven't really painted a scene like this in a while. So maybe that's the next direction I'll go with a mixture. The phthalo green, phthalo blue mixtures with those earth tones is pretty interesting. Phthalo blue is of course really strong. Kind of building up my darks, building up my shapes here. And while I do this, I guess I'll tell you a little bit of a story. So you all know about Hammy, the cat, how he's been coming into the art room. And I put my watercolor paintings, if I mat them and put them in a bag, I have these wooden boxes that I transport them in. And one of those boxes is empty on a second shelf, about the size of this, the opening, if you look down into the box. And so it's on the second shelf between two full boxes with stuff on top of those boxes. And of course, that's where Hammy is right now, in that empty box on that second shelf. Now I want to get this a little gray along the edge, the dead grass. So I'm going to use first burnt Payne's gray along the underside, the reflection, and then I'll mix my green mix with a red, and we'll try to get a gray from that. Could also use browns in here in this water, and we probably will wind up putting earth tones there as well. I'm getting fuzzies from here. This is the Payne's gray, just accentuating the darks in the undersides. Now let's go back to a green. We got a green, and let's mix alizarin in. Let's see how alizarin neutralizes this. There you go, we can use that. So once again, we're still wet and wet, kind of just setting the stage for everything. I think I said that we could use some earth tones here, so let's get a little burnt sienna on there, and we'll even do the phthalo blue mix now. And kind of start throwing that in. I am not going to do perfect reflections. It's just going to be the idea of a reflection down. I think I've talked a lot about reflections and the idea that I prefer to have the idea as opposed to a perfect reflection due to it creating two paintings within one, two images within one. Little horizontal motions to remind us that this is the surface of water, that it's a plane. We have that overhang grass. We can put this up in here. Opening in the trees. Yeah, maybe be careful. Let's bring this up a little bit higher. We have a big tree right in this spot. I'm debating leaving it out, but I think I'm just going to put it in. So we'll do the, yeah, not much of a debate took place, right? I just jumped right into that. Okay. Let's grab just because I haven't washed the brush off at all, so I'm just going to grab the squirrel mop. And build up those yellows. I don't want to personally put it in when it's dry, so I feel like I never get it to sit correctly. The highlights through the tree, the one behind it. You see how we could just use the squirrel mop for a texture as well. Yeah, I'll just bite the bullet. I'll wash this off. Squeeze the water out. Clear some space up on here. Let me take some light red oxide. I'm kind of going all over the place with colors, but I'm having fun. It's a challenge. It's also an experiment, I guess. Now, let's get, this is the phthalo blue and raw sienna. Get a stronger value for the tree. Hey, Hammy, what's up? Hammy says meow. Meow. What's up, buddy? This is the phthalo blue mixed with the burnt umber. Kind of gives you a dark. What's up, buddy? Yeah. I'm just taking that mixture. Try not to get a consistent dark. I want variations in the values. That's why I'm kind of going back into these areas, feeding wet and wet. we could start building up this tree with the dark. Okay, let's continue building that dark up. I wonder if there's a name for this coulee. There must be. I didn't get the composition quite the way I wanted it. We do have some interesting openings in the trees, but it's definitely something I'll revisit. A little bit of sap green. Since we're wet and it's a little bit drier. It's not on the soaking wet stage. Let's see. We could scrape in some. I don't know how sensitive the phone is, the audio, but if you hear that motor sound, that's hammy. Purring. Be careful. So I'm just scraping throughout. I'm going to come in with the rigger and play on top. Just with the scraping, it kind of does a permanent damage to the paper, so you can't really erase it or pull it back up. Let's switch to the number 4 rigger. Use the 4 or the 1. The 4 holds more, but it obviously holds more. It doesn't have the finest of points compared to the 1, but I don't want to be dipping back and forth. We're putting a dark enough line where we're not at that stage where we could put the trees in and let them soften up. They'll soften up some, but we are not. Our pigment load is too heavy for super lightening, and the wetness, it's not really wet enough. I have to get some greens more down into this water. This is sap green, just feeding it out. Payne's gray on that underside. Using that dark as a texture for the underhang. I'm gonna pinch this a little bit lower so that land is smaller, that strip of land, and therefore we get better perspective. I could scrape back here for texture too. And we'll come back in. Okay. Now let's get green. I'm gonna have to pour out more sap green. Grab some just pure pigment. We'll play around with putting this in. I think I mentioned we could scrape the background, the far background in the corner with the for trees. We're kind of just playing against the speed of the drying. And your location, the type of paper, the temperature in your house can all play a part in how fast the paper dries. When I left for work, I turned off the AC, and I'm thinking, you know, because the AC is turned off during the day, humidity is a little bit higher in the house. Therefore, the paper isn't drying as quick currently. I didn't do it intentionally, but it's lasting so long that there's definitely something going on. Darken this with burnt umber. I think we had mentioned scraping. Yeah, I mentioned it like 3 times. See if I can feed some lemon yellow down in here in the wet and wet. So now, even though I'm having like a lot of fun with this one, here's some burnt sienna. It is kind of a race against time at this point for me, or at least with what I know or what I'm capable of doing. I think it's a race of time. So my hands are scraper card, hake brush, paper towel, the rigger. So you can see I'm trying to get it all in. Phthalo blue. I'm going to try to get a dark here. I don't want a perfectly rounded tree. Get more green. It's kind of a little bit layer of grass. Kind of scrubbing it in here. It's kind of dry. This path come back. Payne's gray. Let it kind of dance around. Same thing. Actually, those branches we put in did lighten up a lot. Like here's right where previous one was, same thing right there. Using the side of the rigger. Dry brush effect on that dead edge. Yeah, now we're starting to dry. Payne's Gray with raw sienna, burnt sienna, sorry. Want to give areas density and have areas like have a looseness of density, so different groupings. So it's just kind of going back and forth with texture, scraping, the rigger, the hake. We didn't really do too much paper towel texture, but we could have. I wonder if we could try to sneak in a little bit of that lemon yellow after the fact back in here. No, it's too green. I'm going to darken this guy up. Trying to darken the undergrowth. I think now we can do a dry off and kind of take a look and sit back, because that was quite a lot going on. Okay, so if you have earbuds on, just want to take them off so you don't hurt your ears with the blow dryer. Okay, so we're mostly dry. I'm kind of tempted to grab, I'm going, yeah. I think I need to just stop saying I'm thinking about doing something and then saying this is what we're going to do with it. We're going to find a paint that we haven't used in quite a while, since we haven't done something like this in a while. We'll grab this little sushi platter. And we're going to take, this is the Van Gogh brand Titan Buff. I think Daniel Smith has this brand, Buff Titan they might call it. I think it's pretty kind of like an unbleached titanium. Or I think it's mixed, but to make it look like unbleached titanium. I have played with this in the past to add little textural effects. We'll see. I might have gone too much already. I'll kind of highlight some areas of interest. Trying to get more of a dry brush with it. Okay, so I'm just taking the rigger, wetting it, and putting down way too much paint. Let's pull the water out of the brush and that's for that dead grass on that edge that's hanging over. And just dabbing it in. Let me let Hammy out. The door's right there. Hammy. There you go, buddy. Usually that crying's on the other side of the door when I'm painting. Let's allow for a branch or two with this trunk. Okay, I think that's all I want to go with that. I put it in a separate dish because, like white, it can contaminate, chalky up the other paints. And then let's grab black. I'm just going to grab a random black. This is just Daniel Smith's Lunar Black. And we'll kind of treat it the same way. Just want the teeniest bit of water. In fact, we could probably almost benefit from dry brushing across the whole water with this. So we'll keep that in mind. Water. I don't know if the difference is really showing up in the video. we're just darkening the undershadow of these objects that are closer to us. I think I have too much water on there. So now would probably be a terrible time for me to say, hey, if you like this channel, please like, subscribe, follow. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. If there's ever any works of art that you like, I have an Etsy shop linked down below. I do have a Patreon account if you'd like to support me. That helps, you know, I like giving, you know, the free videos and content, but I do have exclusive videos and content for the Patreon, and that also just helps, you know, supplies. And I have two cheap tiers, like a $5 and a $2, so it's just a little something extra. So if you want to consider that, I'd appreciate it. Also, if there's ever anything on the Etsy shop that you don't see, like if you don't see something on the Etsy shop that I did and you want it and I still have it, let me know. I don't put everything up there because it costs to list, and with working and coaching and tutoring, it's, you know, back to being busy. Let's grab the hake. Grab some black. Just dry brush horizontally. To get that water surface. And I mentioned earlier, since it's a receding plane, it's a plane, we want the horizontal lines to help with that. Could even texture up a little bit here with the black. Let's dry it off and take a look. I think we're pretty much done. We'll do a dry off, we'll take a look and see how everything is. Alright, so even though it's been 2 or 3 days, well, maybe 4 days since I painted, it feels good to paint again. let's sign it, put a mat over it, and we'll call it done. Alright, we got the signature. And of course, if you ever follow along with one of these tutorials, I'd love to see your results. And if you ever get an offer for somebody to buy one of the paintings, go for it. I want you guys, you have my permission to sell anything you do whenever you follow on these videos. So there's our results. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.